You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 3, and today we'll be talking about the new idea you've got. Should you get a domain name for it? If you want a premium domain, one that's already been purchased, how much should you spend on it? And how important is a domain anyway? That's next on Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
So, Laurel, I've been thinking about the domain names for this podcast.
What have you been thinking?
Well, right now we've got redpodcast.com.
Yeah, that's not like the big picture one that we want, I don't think.
Yeah, that kind of limits us to a podcast.
Exactly. And I think you and I always think way bigger.
Way bigger.
Than the little tiny component of something.
But red is such a common phrase. It's been kind of a tough one finding something.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is obviously red.com, not available.
No, that was snatched up a long time ago.
Yep, can't get that. That's like getting Amazon.com.
So it's tough, though. I mean, I think one of the great things, though, about having so many domain names already taken is it really forces you to get clear on your message, and it forces you to look hard for a creative solution. And every time I've come up with something because of that, it's actually been better than what I first thought of.
You're really good at naming, though. You have some innate talent for naming.
Yeah.
So I think we got to note that. Because you
well, that's
go
what
like
I do.
way
I mean,
deep.
People hire me to do that.
That's true. You are
Yeah.
a marketing guy.
Yeah, they come to me and all they want is a name, and to get clear on the message as well. That's the bonus.
And those two go hand in hand. And I think the thing is, there are tons of domain names available. I mean, you can get .biz, .us, .co.
Forget it. .com is the only thing that matters.
Okay, tell me about your opinion there. Why is .com the only thing that matters?
Well, because it's the only thing people think of. For example, my main company, when I was doing music business, musicmarketing.com. Now, I've gotten cards that say, for example, musicmarketing.co, which you could probably get that domain name now for $12 or something. And you look at that and you think, did you make a typo? Or musicmarketing.biz, for example. That sounds like a multi-level marketing company, right?
That's true.
Or .net, nobody's thinking that. .com is the king. Everybody's thinking that. They're going to type it in instantly. And a lot of times if you type in a domain that doesn't exist, like musicmarketing.co, say, did you mean musicmarketing.com? That's what Google will say.
And how many times have you sent an email to somebody's business that was their name at theirbusiness.co and you just typed in .com
Yeah.
and then you get the mailer demon back?
Yeah, they don't even get that. Well, fortunately, I don't see the .co that much. I see .net, I see .org, I see sometimes .biz.
But I have seen plenty of businesses that are just highly successful with .net. Maybe not .biz, but I've seen some successful .net businesses.
Name one.
I would say audiojungle.net.
Well, what happens when you go to audiojungle.com?
I have no idea.
It takes you to audiojungle.net.
You don't know that.
I do. Go do it.
I'm going to do it right now. Themeforest.com. Same company here. Okay, we're going to go to audiojungle.com.
No, .net.
Well, you said to go to .com. Okay, it does it forwards.
Okay, whatever.
.net.
Anyway, yeah. So everybody has the .com, and that's the point.
What's
and today
the value
we're going to be talking
in it?
about that.
Sorry, before we get into that, I mean, what's really the value? Is it just that people are already typing it in and already thinking about it, and it makes you an authority in your space?
It's the same value as a print book compared to an ebook. Nobody got on Oprah with an ebook. And if you really want to go big, you've got to have a .com name. I don't make the rules up. That's just how it is.
It's just how it is.
That's how it is. I mean, you can go look at the value. Go to like TDNAM.com, which is GoDaddy's auction appraisal service. Go to hugedomains.com, buydomains.com. You can see the difference. And there'll be a .com for sale for $5,000-$6,000. The .net's available for $12.99.
Be funny it was tdnom.biz or something. Just saying. So, all right, I interrupted you earlier. What are we talking about today?
So we're talking about domain name. Should you invest in a great business domain name?
And this came up for us because one of my clients who I'm working with right now, he has come up with this new business that he wants to launch, and he and I are working on a name for this business. And we want to match up the name with the domain name that has a .com. And as we're talking about, that's challenging these days. I mean, challenging every single thing we've come up with. It's like it's hard to find amazing names, but we've come up with some really good names for his business. And we type in the name .com and they're just all taken, or they have a really high price tag with them.
Well, describe what you mean by really high price tag.
So the ones he's looking at, there are two variations because he has the number 5th in it. And so you would want to buy the number 5, TH, and then the word he's going for. Or you'd want to buy it spelled out, FIFTH. So you'd want to go for two of them. One of them is it's a little over $3,500. And the other one, and these are both .coms, and the other one is, I think today it was about $6,700.
So you're looking at about 10 grand, let's say.
10 grand, because you want to buy both, because
Yeah.
you don't know what people are typing in, and it depends on
you
how
need
you
to
do
because podcast or radio or broadcast, any kind of like television, if people are just listening, they don't know how to spell it.
Exactly. You want to be able to say it on an interview, say it over the airwaves like this, and have people just be able to type it in.
You don't want to say dash
No.
or hyphen.
No.
Or spell something out. That gets old.
No.
Don't want to get creative.
You don't.
Like, for example, we wouldn't want to call it Red Podcast with 2 Ds.
No, because people will
.com.
never get that.
No.
If you have to explain it over the airwaves, it's lost.
Or, hey, we don't have it's like Fiverr without the E. Fiverr.
Yeah,
They spend a lot of money to get us to know that.
exactly. And I always put 2 E's in there instead of 2 R's, and it takes you to the totally wrong place.
Yeah, that's like some porn site or something, isn't it?
It is not, but I bet you would know if it was. Just saying. Just kidding. Well, I think it's hard, especially for my client. He's got a new business. So this is a brand new business for him. And he's a brand new entrepreneur. So he's had other things going on, but never a money-making business, never a full-time thing. So I think it's hard to justify, should you spend 10 grand? You can whittle them down and get a lower price on that. But
Yeah, I've done a lot of domain buying and selling, and probably for those 2 domains, it's a good domain, but it's not something like sex.com or...
you had to go back there, didn't you?
Well, those are popular domains. Those are, or like a one-word short domain. That's the reason that I used it. It's not something like that, though. It's a fairly long domain and has about 10 or 12 characters in it. But whittling them down, you can only go so much. I would imagine that this guy could probably get in and out with both of them. And they're 2 different buyers, so the negotiation is a little bit weird. I'd say he probably could do it for 6 grand.
Yeah. What would it take to get in and out of sex.com?
Sex.com at one
saying.
time was the most valuable domain name, and somebody actually hijacked it. The reason it's difficult to transfer a domain name now is because of sex.com, and it was worth several $1 million at one time.
I don't think you got my dirty joke. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll just let that go. I promised myself I wouldn't make dirty jokes, and then
Yeah.
I just did, and you didn't get it. And it was really sad to me. So anyway, moving on. I think, again, it's hard to justify for my client. New business venture, new entrepreneur. Should he purchase a domain, even if it's a great domain and a great business name, should he spend so much money on a premium domain when he hasn't proven that his business model is going to work? Or should he not? I mean, which way should he go?
Well, let's take it back before you think of the .com domain name, which I feel is a must. Is you've got to have a great name for your company. I feel that what you name your company completely changes the energy of the company. It changes your excitement about it. For example, I'm just going to make up a music domain. So let's say we had a record store and it was called records with an S.com. Sounds pretty professional, right? Or if you had records with a Z.com. It's like, it's kind of amateur. You want a really good domain name. And this guy came up with a great company name. That's the foundation before the domain name.
I absolutely agree. And so it's just, does he go and try to dive deeper and find a different name that's even better than the one he found that he can find a .com with, which is probably unlikely? Or should he pay the big bucks for this domain and get into this business? And maybe, we all remember our first business. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Probably
well, maybe
it doesn't.
But I think there's something to be said about investing in yourself.
But does that invest in yourself?
Yeah. If I found a great, you know how much money I've spent on domain names.
You love domain names.
Well, I've got to have.
It's an obsession.
Well, I mentioned musicmarketing.com. That's what I do, right? So if I had music marketing with a Z or musicmarketing1.com or, I mean, that's the name of the company. Or if there was a dash in there, that changes everything. It's like, this guy's really not that serious. It's kind of like going into an attorney's office. If you've got an attorney in the wood-paneled office in a nice, tall building downtown, it appears that they're winning cases because they're making money, right? As opposed to the guy who's like working out of the back of the YMCA parking lot or whatever, and he's in the
lobby.
co-working space, right?
Yeah.
with all the millennials at Starbucks or something, with the guys in the skinny jeans with their lattes. Which one are you going to trust? And I think it is worth saying that a good domain name, a good company name is going to pay for itself based on that. You're going to have this thing for a long time.
But what if you don't? I mean, I think that's the dilemma with my client going into his new business, is never having run a business before. He's just making a gamble whether he likes this business, whether this business is the business for him, whether he's going to get any clients.
Here's the thing, Laurel. You're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. And I think it's the same thing with cars. I think it's the same thing with travel accommodations. I think it's the same thing with housing. You could buy a cheap house, and you always hear people say that, right? Oh, I'm going to go out in the country. You get so much more house for your money. But then they hate the commute, or they don't like the people that are around them. So same thing with your business. You're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. I know there's some very well-known bloggers, and they hate that I know a guy, for example, he tried to get creative with the spelling of his name. Center, which is C-E-N-T-E-R in this country, in the United States. Now, if you went to Canada, they have an argument. Is it C-E-N-T-R-E or C-E-N-T-E-R? England, you're probably okay. But he spelled it C-E-N-T-R-E and has never forgiven himself, because he always has to explain it. When they go to his domain name, which has that word in it, he always has to spell it out. And it takes time, and it's like, what the hell were you trying to do? Were you trying to be creative? And people are asking, well, why didn't you just get it with C-E-N-T-E-R? Did you not have the money? Should I not trust you with mine?
I absolutely agree in that purchasing things that have longevity. I mean, when I first got out of college and moved into my first apartment, even though I was making plenty of money at an engineering salary, I still went out and bought all this Target, put it together yourself furniture. Nothing wrong with Target. I'm a big fan, but this furniture was flimsy. Man, it just fell apart on me. It was cheap. It was no good. So then you got to buy new furniture. And then every time I moved around, and I moved around a lot, you have to buy new furniture again.
Yeah.
And I kept buying this cheap furniture. And so that's not the way to go. You got to invest. If I had just invested in great furniture from the get-go.
Yeah, you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later.
I totally agree with that. But at the same time, relating to furniture, 10 years later, my style has changed with furniture. So say I invested all this money in furniture and my style changes every year. Well, then,
You know what? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I get that.
but I think you really